Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to live coverage of the Thrustmaster SimRacing ACE Championship. For today's broadcast we are here at the wonderful Spa-Francorchamps circuit for round 10 of the FSR 2015 season. The Belgian Grand Prix is a fast-flowing, high-speed and historic circuit that has been used in Formula 1 since 1950. Spa has witnessed significant changes over the years, with the distance being reduced to just 7 kilometers compared to the 14.9 kilometers previously. However, one corner has remained over the years is the legendary Eau Rouge. Spa consists of a clockwise configuration with 19 turns punctuated by 2 DRS zones, and the lap count for this evening is 35 laps. Belgium has not been on the FSR calendar since 2011, so it's nice to see it back on the calendar for tonight's broadcast. So without further ado, let's introduce the commentary team for this evening. I'm James Sadler, and commentating alongside me today is Jeroen Kweekel. So how are you today, Jeroen?
Hi James, well first of all a warm welcome to you as well, fantastic intro there, and we are here, the ship's trends in Spa-Francorchamps, and what a fantastic venue it is. I mean, look at it, and when you watch the images as well, it's currently raining. It's going to be the first rain race obviously of the season after the dynamic weather has been kicked in since the previous race, so I'm really looking forward to this. I think this could be amazing, and let's see what rFactor has to offer us, you know, with the dynamic weather, and also how FSR will respond to that.
Indeed, it should be very interesting with the dynamic weather. It definitely creates a different element of racing on rFactor 2, and it should be really good fun as well. But obviously there won't be any DRS in the wet, so overtaking may be a little bit hard, especially because you're going to have to run higher downforce so you don't lose traction. But it's definitely going to be a lot more difficult on rFactor 2 with this mod as well. Currently we are going to go into the first qualifying session of the weekend, which is Q1. Drivers have a 10-minute qualifying session in order to advance into the top 10 of the Q2. To do this, they have unlimited setup changes and unlimited laps. Also, they can select any compound of their choice out of both the softs and the mediums. Next to the top 10 drivers, go into Q2, which is only a 5-minute session with one flying lap in order to get pole position. In Q2, park fame rules are applied, so hopefully they are working now. Previously they haven't been working, but hopefully that is the case for this round. So therefore there are little set adjustments that can be made by the drivers, so they will start on the race the tyres that they qualified on. But also if it is raining at the start of qualifying, then of course they obviously won't have to start on the compound that they started on, so we will see. After this, a 10-minute warm-up session begins where the drivers get used to the heavy fuel loads for the race, and after the warm-up session, the formation lap begins, and then 5 laps will go out where we'll enter into 35 laps of racing, and definitely should be very interesting with the rain as we've discussed. It's definitely going to be a lot more interesting, and it should maybe mix up the field a little bit, because maybe some drivers are actually better in the wet than other drivers, so definitely we can see who is going to be the fastest. Eros Rasculi seems to be going strong at the moment in this practice session at the moment, and we will go into Q1 as I said, but at the moment he's top of the time sheets in this practice session.
Yeah, and what I should say before we start is also we should mention Jim Parisis, because for this weekend we had a few issues with our guy who usually broadcasts and does the camera, so Sam Jones couldn't be here. Unfortunately, our backup broadcaster couldn't be here either, so it's a bit of a hectic situation, I guess you could call it, in terms of broadcasting for this weekend. Luckily, Jim Parisis decided to put himself up there, and he is currently streaming this event, and it seems to be going smooth. So yeah, a quick thank you to Jim Parisis, as the practice session is finished over here. We should be heading into Q1, as you have explained, James, and then I'm really looking forward to what is going to happen here in the first qualifying session. Rain is expected to stay throughout the whole night, really, to be honest. Tomorrow we are going to see some rain as well, pretty similar conditions to what we have got over here. Currently there's quite a big cloud covering the track. In the distance you can see it's a little bit brighter, that is actually coming towards us, but after that bright side there should be another bit of rain. So it's typical Spa conditions, and let's see how that affects the drivers. I mean, once I said, or as I said I should say, I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be fascinating. So we're still waiting then for the cue from Parisis, our race director, to go into Q1. Then it's all in for the drivers.
Indeed it is. So just running through the back of the grids and the pit lane start for this round. So while we are waiting for Q1 to start, Fabrice Gobi is on a back of the grid penalty. I think it's from Hockenheim, if I'm correct, and I don't think he's served it. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think it's from Hockenheim, nevertheless. And Marek Godek has got a pit lane start for the incident with Klopp back at Monza. So them two won't be going out in this qualifying session, or both qualifying sessions in fact, but they will be there in the warm-up to get used to the heavy fuel loads. But currently we are still waiting to go into Q1. Just a couple of messages going on the server. But yeah, it should be a very interesting qualifying session to see who is going to be the fastest out of all the drivers. Now, obviously Danicus has been dominating the series, but obviously he's not here due to moving up to the World Championship. Now, one driver that was very impressive at Silverstone, and I wasn't here, but Kem Bolabasi.
Yep,
is, Gem.
I will learn you how to pronounce it. Gem.
I thought you said Jim. Oh, well.
No, Gem.
Ah, well.
I used to say Sam or something like that, but it's definitely Gem. So he's Turkish, so that's why.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anyway, so going into the first qualifying session of the weekend, and it should be a good one here.
Is anyone on intermediates? That's immediately the question you start to wonder. The answer is no, though. Everyone is on full wets. That shows that it's really pouring down with rain, and it indeed is. Not really easing off in terms of intensity at the moment. But as I said, there are some more clear skies on their way, which could be interesting because it might mean that the intensity of rain is going to decrease towards the end of the session, and towards the end of the session the track will be a little bit quicker than the start of the session. But anyway, Q1 is on the way, and also the first wet qualifying obviously is on the way then. And as I said, fascinating to see. Let's see what these drivers are going to do and what they are made of. Obviously we focus on the 10th spot, that cutoff point. We'll see what these drivers can do. We have seen already some 158s in the practice, and I'm interested to see what the cutoff time is going to be. It should be about that 158, maybe 159 mark, I would say at the moment. And obviously these track conditions could be changed at any time, so it's really hard to say. And when you look, for example, at Martin Hodes, who is leading this pack at the moment, you can just see him sliding through the corners with that wet track.
Yeah, indeed it does. He seems to be struggling a little bit, maybe trying to get a little bit of temperature into the tyres. Obviously he was at the start of the pit lane, so he was going to be the first one to set a lap in this Q1 session. So maybe he lost a little bit of temperature in his brakes and his tyres, so maybe it'll take a little bit to warm them up, but he seems to be struggling with the rear end on that Eventer car. And also we need to look at Paschalis Georgis, the Greek driver for Abercrombie Racing Blue Team. He did win at Monza, did a great job, so he'll be interesting one to look at for this qualifying session and indeed the race, see where he qualifies and what he can do in the race with these dynamic weather conditions. So it appears Hodes will be the first driver to start a lap, and Jeroen, when he gets to the bus stop chicane, which many feel isn't great. At Spa prefer the old layout, but Jeroen, do you want to take us through a lap with Martin Hodes?
Absolutely, we are going here on board with Hodes. I mean, this is fantastic to see already with the rain. Listen to the engine here on the exit. Just being so careful on the power compared to what we obviously usually see. There's no rain falling at the moment though, so that is what I was talking about. Well, there is a bit of rain in turn 1, as you can see the raindrops starting to come there. So you can see that on some parts of the track it's a bit drier than the other. Here again, the rain for me stops. I hope it is the same from Parisis' point of view, but I presume it is. Heading up to Arouge right now, listen. definitely a lift in the middle of the corner, but manages to get through there, well, safely. That is something important. Obviously no DRS over here as he flies down the straight, heading through to the next couple of corners. This is very interesting. Very hard to slow it down in the rain here as the raindrops again start to appear in these couple of corners. And so careful on the power here. Decides to, well, not really slide it in. He's looking quite stable through there. It's very easy to get some oversteer when applying even the slightest amount of power. Going a bit deep into here. That's the line you want to take through the wet. Very nice line from Hodes through there, I have to say. Then the next corner, which is called a corner with no name, goes nicely through there, so you can see that it's quite careful. But hey, what else do you expect in these conditions? Trying to get a bit of a feel for it. So far though, it looks quite nice, I have to say. Coming through Puhan, turn 12. I would say it are turns 12 and 13, but it's actually considered as one corner. Then turns 13 and 14, right and left. Hitting the curb, that is quite dangerous to do possibly in the rain. Going all over that curb as well. Looking quite nicely through there actually in terms of stability over those curves, but they can be obviously very slippery in the wet. Runs quite wide over here, then needs to get on the power, and this corner turns 16, very hard in the rain, let alone when the tires start to wear in the race as well. It may not be flat depending on your setup. Flat out right now and heading into Blanchimont. Listen to this, there will be a lift I presume. Yeah, definitely a lift on the corner entry, but 7th gear through there, looking quite good. Find the brake marker, 100 meter board for Hodes, having an inside front right lockup. So far looking good though, and again getting on that power as well early as you can, but without generating too much wheel spin. And the first lap for Hodes is 2 minute 1.913, so that's the first benchmark, and immediately Francis Goning goes underneath that with a 2 minute 1.270. So wow.
I'll tell you one driver who's going pretty fast at the moment. Eros Masculi is, but also Michi Hoyer is. Currently a 10th off Masculi in the middle sector. What can you do in this final sector? So he's gone a 10th quicker than Masculi. Seemed to have a really good first sector, did Hoyer. Did 39.9, so maybe setting up that Abercrombie racing car for a little bit more top speed, because the first sector is more about top speed than downforce, because there's only turn 1, and then you've also got a region that's just a flat out straight. Obviously no DRS here, so that's going to affect the top speeds ever so slightly, but a new driver to FSR, and I'm going to have a real problem pronouncing this name, Michael Antoinziki. I think he's that doesn't matter. But yeah,
that is a tough one, I have to say.
Yeah, it's like Cubas and Nicodom on Nico.
Wisniewski, Antonovsky, something like that. So pretty similar names indeed.
Anyway, so currently 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. Who's going faster? Is anyone going faster at the moment?
Well, most people are again on their outlap.
Yes. I think one driver who is currently on their lap, I'm just trying to find him, apologies. Glorin Prieto, that's the one who I saw was currently on a lap, but going around Puhan seems to be struggling and getting really a lot of understeer on that car, and he's just going to abandon his lap. So, everyone seems to be on their outlap at the moment. Seems now, especially one thing about Spa, is it's an incredibly long time to do an outlap, especially in the dry, let alone in the wet. So it's about 2 minutes to do an outlap, so in which time you have to get your tyres warm and your brakes so you can set the fastest lap you possibly can. But currently, seems to me at the moment the best in the wet so far are Michel, Michi, Jem, Specialist and Masculi, who are only 2/10 off each other, so seemingly pretty close at the moment, but 2/10 in this mod is quite a big margin. We'll have to see if the times come down at, in this Q1 session.
It's just over 3 minutes to go. It seems like the track is a little bit slower compared to practice. We saw 158s over there. We're currently not even below the 2 minutes as Mikal is going to start another lap. I don't know if it's Michal or Mikal or whatever. I'm going to keep it at Mikal at the moment. Coming across the start-finish line over here Going to head into the first corner, and he does look quite stable on the braking here. Down into first gear, reaches for the apex and does so very nicely in fact. Stays off the curb on the exit, touched it slightly, but definitely did not go all over it. Maybe not having the confidence, or just feels like it's not worth it, you know, it's not quicker. And I think he's absolutely right. Flat out through a ruse. That is nice to see. Then down this straight, I think it is called Camel Straight. Seems like its brain intensity is decreasing slightly, so we may see the times dropping here at the moment. We're yet to see. I'm watching Mikhail Antochowski, currently in first place. See whether he can improve. It's not an improvement in the first sector, so that indicates that the track may be slightly slower than it was before. Just over 2 minutes to go. Currently the cutoff point is Giuseppe Ragusa with 2 minutes point 1. And we'll see whether anyone can beat it at the moment. Faustini in 12 is going also pretty quick, but still staying with Mikhail here, who's entering Puhan. Dips his inside tire in the grass over there, gets a little bit loose on the X, trying to apply the power on the exit of Puhan, but nothing too serious. Martin Hodes is on for a bad lap as well. He's currently in the first sector, but we'll stay with Antochowski. Very difficult name to pronounce. And you can see how much he's catching up to Martin Hodes, who's in front of him. Hodes is on the lap himself as well, so you can see that Hodes is just not having the kind of pace that Mikhail has at the moment. And Hodes is probably out of the Q1 session. Hodes at a very poor middle sector, and I don't see him popping into the top 10. So Ragusa is still in the 10th place. Timo Valkjärvi in 9th place is done. So Timo is a little bit dangerous over there in the 9th place. But what can Ragusa do, because he's on an improvement himself as well. Riera is 12, still going as well. Mikhail goes across the line and does not improve. Okay, so Mikhail did not improve. Most people are not really on for that much of an improvement, except for Jem Bolokbasi, who comes to the bus stop chicane over here, is behind Chris de Jong. Chris de Jong hasn't set a lap time yet with 40 seconds to go. Jem Bolokbasi coming across the line right now on the exit of the bus stop. What does he do? He does improve and jumps to first place. Jem Bolokbasi in first. Ragusa in the meantime in the bus stop as well. This will be an important one for Ragusa. He is up for an improvement. 10th place at the moment. If he can improve, he may put Timo Valkjärvi in 10th, which he does so. Good lap from Ragusa, I think. Puts him up to 8th place. Second off Jem Bolokbasi. Hodes, as I said, he cannot do it, but he has got time for another lap. So Hodes can still do another one, but again he is not improving in that first sector. So what does Riera do? Riera also not improving. A lot of guys are not improving outside that top 10, so you would think that Timo is safe almost. Partington in second. And Mashuli goes purple in the middle sector by 6 tenths compared to Jem Bolokbasi. But I'm looking at Hodes over here in Puhan, taking a lot of commitment into there, but he just does not have the kind of stability on that car, and he flies off. Hodes is off on the exit of Puhan. And that is Hodes' lap absolutely spoiled. As I said, I just said it, that car does not look that stable. It indeed isn't, as Mashuli jumped into 3rd place. But what can those guys do still outside of the top 10? Viktor Ivanov is up for an improvement. He is in Puhan, but goes quite deep into there. And just to keep it on track just about. So Viktor Ivanov is one to look out for. Faustini, I don't think he is really up for an improvement at the moment. Francesconi has gone off as well. Viktor Ivanov coming up to Francesconi, who spun in front. But Francesconi should have pressed escape in no time, which he indeed did so. So it's Timo in 10th, and the only person who seems to be able to challenge him is Viktor Ivanov. Viktor Ivanov is up for a personal improvement in both sectors. So Viktor Ivanov might be the one to spoil Timo's party over here, who knows? I am not sure whether Faustini is still up for a lap, because he is not classified on live timing at the moment. Viktor Ivanov going rather deep into there though. And Faustini in the end went 12th. So it's all waiting for Viktor Ivanov. Can he do it? And the answer is, yes, he does it! And Timo was up as well, I think. So Timo is in 9th. And Viktor Ivanov jumps into 10th. Wow, okay. That's an interesting end to this session. So Viktor Ivanov right at the end there, despite going deep into the bus stop, finds himself in the top 10. But only by 0.05 of a second in front of Martin Hodes, who we saw struggling quite a bit.
Yeah, indeed. And Valkjärvi improved up into 9th, and then obviously Ivanov took Hodes out of the top 10. So I think what we can conclude from this Q1 session is definitely that basically Origin SimRacing and Arachronic SimRacing have definitely got a more wet setup. So whether that's going to come into play if the track was to dry out, if the rain was to stop, we'll see what will happen. But this is your top 10 for Q2. They'll have one flying lap. I think it'll be extremely difficult because it will be the first Q2 session that FSR has done in the wet, I believe. But yeah, it should definitely be exciting. I'm sure the World Championship drivers are looking at this broadcast with anticipation to see what sort of lap times people are doing. Because obviously the World Championship does have dynamic weather also, but Pro doesn't. So there won't be any rain in Pro, which will be at 13:30 GMT tomorrow. Hopefully me and Jeroen will be driving as well. But let's round out the top 10. So Jem Bolabasi is in first place. Mike Partington up there in second, 2 tenths off Bolabasi at the moment. Let's see what he can do. Aros Rasculi is in third place. Michel Antwowski.
I have news. It's Michal Antohovsky. Wait.
Antohovsky.
No. Kuba sent me. It is Michal Antohovsky. That's it.
Yeah.
So Kuba Brzezinski, thank you very much. But apparently it's something like Michal Antohovsky. So let's keep that in mind.
Anyway, carrying on. Michi Hoyer is in 5th. Paschalis Georgis is in 6th. Michel Francesconi is in 7th. Giuseppe Ragusa in 8th. Michel D'Alessandro is in 9th, who has promoted himself up into Ace from Pro. And Timu Valchiavi rounds out the top 10. Just waiting to go into Q2. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Arachronic and Origin are right up there in the wet. Whether they've gone for more downforce in the hope that the whole of the race stays wet, but I think it is expected to stay wet throughout the whole entire race. So they are looking for a great result, our Origin SimRacing and Arachronic Racing, but we'll see what they can do in Q2. Obviously, they have one flying lap with a 5-minute session. So the drivers are going to have to go out earlier than what they usually do, because obviously it will take 2 minutes to do an outlap. So we'll probably have to go out by around the 3-minute mark, just a little bit later, but about pretty much there. Also, one more thing. The rain is continuing to go onto the track, and the one thing that is going to happen is I think the track may lose even more traction if the real road stays as it is going into Q2. We'll have to see if that happens. Hopefully it does, otherwise then it's just it's not going to be great, because obviously you want that real road with all the rain on it at this point in time to carry over to Q2 like it would do in real life, obviously. But yeah, it should definitely be exciting. I think it'll be interesting to see if the rain intensity drops a little bit, and then maybe
it should.
Yeah, indeed it should, but maybe we can see some intermediates going on and see if any dry line forms if the rain stops, but we will see. So, still waiting to go into Q2.
Now what's interesting is when you look at the sky, at least a minute ago, it's starting to get a bit more cloudy right now, but a minute ago when you looked into the sky it was almost, well, perfectly blue. There were a few very light clouds over here, or here and there, but not too much. Going into this session, looking up again, as soon as we skip to the next session, there are again some dark clouds. So that is quite interesting. No idea how that works, to be honest. But towards the end of the session, it didn't look that cloudy at all anymore. But the rain was still pouring down. Right now, looking at the sky, and it again looks really dark. So I don't see the situation changing any time at the moment. And what's interesting is that Masciuli straight away goes out and being followed by his teammate Michael Francesconi. And those are the guys then to set their lap times first. That is interesting because usually in the dry, obviously you try to wait as long as possible, you know, if you want, because towards the end of the session there will be more rubber available on the track. But these guys are like, you know, it's raining anyway, so why not go out? And maybe these guys have been watching the radar as well, and they know that possibly there is some more rain on the way, so they decide to go out straight away, and a lot more people do as well. Michał Antohovsky is still in the pit lane in 4th. Georges is in the pit lane is 6, and Ragusa as well. So we've got 3 cars in the pit lane, and in the first minute already there are a lot of cars out. Even Georges goes out right now, so we have got 8 cars out in the first minute of this session. That is pretty rare. As I said, you usually see them coming out towards the end of the session, but obviously it's raining, it's a different story. And this is going to be fascinating. Masciuli is leading this pack, as I said, being followed by Francesconi. But, well, what can we see and what can we expect in this session? You get only 1 lap over here, so the pressure is really high, especially in these rainy conditions.
Indeed it will be. Now the one thing for all the drivers to consider, and I think Georges and all the other drivers that are in the pits are hoping that the rain will stop, so then obviously the track will get quicker as more drivers create a drier line. But I'd like to see how it works out in this session. So Aros Asculi currently going round, or he's currently in sector 3. He's heading up towards the bus stop chicane, where he will then start a lap. He'll want to take the widest line possible, will Aros Asculi. Let's see what he can do in this Aventa car. So Aros Asculi gets a nice wide line, nice and calm on the power, and now heading towards turn 1. Let's see where he brakes. Just brakes before the 100-meter board into second gear, back down into first, then actually goes full throttle with first rather than short shifting into second. But Aros carries on through a rouge. Let's have a listen. That's pretty good from Asculi. I think he used at least 75% throttle through Eau Rouge there, so having quite a lot of confidence in that car. Of course it's still raining at the moment, so now heading towards into third gear and looking fairly stable is Masculi at the moment. The sun seems to be coming out, so that's going to be quite interesting.
Oh, wow.
That's surely going to mean that the track's going to dry. Yeah, indeed it
That
is.
is amazing. Francesconi in the meantime went 2/10 quicker than Masciuli up the road, so he's a bit quicker. Gianbolo Bassi does 33.1, which is in fact half a second quicker than Masciuli, but we've seen that before. But then we see Masciuli responding in his middle sector, and that's an indication that he has got more downforce. But look at this sun suddenly trying to come out and, well, heat up the track, whatever. I love it, that is for sure. Masciuli looking still stable though, has to be said. Nice lines through here. Picking up a bit of understeer over here, that's something you can do in the rain, because it will make the car a bit more stable. Then going downhill over here, this is a really tricky corner in the rain, and it looks so easy, but it definitely is. It goes downhill a bit as well. Short shifting up to 5th gear. Now we'll head to Blanchimont, and Masciuli again gained a lot of time on Francesconi in the middle sector, so Masciuli looking for a good lap, but it's waiting for Bolobassi as well, who is still having the purple time in the first sector. Slowing the car down. Gianbolo Bassi 4/10 down after the second sector, or in that sector alone on Masciuli, who crosses the line right now and does a 2-minute 1.130. But I wanna know what Bolo Bassi is going to do, because Bolo Bassi has got a good shot over here, in my opinion, to get pole position. As I said, he lost 4/10 again in that middle sector, so they are pretty much even at the moment. Bolo Bassi going all over those curbs over there though. I don't know whether that was the quick slide, but we'll see. Bolo Bassi crossing the line, and he does it! 0.720 and 2 minutes dead. That is a great lap from him, and might as well be pole position. It definitely is provisional pole position at the moment. Well, what can these other guys do? Mike Partington, for example, coming around the final bus stop as well. Partington looking quite good actually. Partington might have a shot here as well, and he does it. Partington in pole now. Great lap from Mike Partington. Fantastic. Only 600ths of a second quicker than Gianbolo Bassi. And what is Michal doing?
He's currently up 31 thousandths, so Partington did a great lap. But can the, I'm just going to call him the Polish guy, I think that just makes life a lot easier. So Michal, if that is how you pronounce it, then cheers for that, Cuba. Anyway, carry on. So into the bus stop chicane, Michal coming round the final corner, has a little bit of a steer. Can he do it? Oh! I think that ultimately cost him. Yeah. Sorry for the screen.
That's no problem. I mean, that's some kind of excitement, because it was exciting. but he also had some oversteer on the exit of turn 16 already, so he lost some time over there as well. And obviously you lose momentum all the way down to that, well, it are two corners, no blanchiment and stuff, but you lose some momentum onto that straight. I'm just going to call it straight, despite the corners, which are flat out though. But that was indeed fantastic. Ragusa is on the left as well. Currently about 2.5 tenths down on Mike Partington at the end of the first sector. Goes a bit deep into there. Has trouble putting the power down as well. So not great for Ragusa. He is, however, quite quick in that middle sector. He was a tenth quicker than Partington. So if he can nail the final sector, which he really needs to do, he may have a shot at it. But he needs a really good final sector, to be honest.
Indeed he does, but we'll see what he can do. So Ragusa into the bus stop chicane. Has a little bit of a lock-up on the front right, so what is Ragusa going to do? Seems like drivers are struggling for traction out of the bus stop chicane, and that puts him in 8th place. Again, lost quite a lot of time in that third sector, but Mike Partington had a really good chance of a race win back at Monza, and he is in pole position in this race in Spa in Belgium. So well done to Mike Partington for getting pole position. Jem Bolabasi is in second, only 63 thousandths of Mike Partington. Paschalis Georgis is in third, so what can he do? Especially starting, well, I guess it's really irrelevant starting on where the dry line would be, but obviously because it's wet, but we'll see how it goes anyway. So Mihao is in 4th, Eros Vaskili is in 5th, Michel D'Alessandro is in 6th, Michi Hoyer is in 7th, Giuseppe Ragusa is in 8th, Michael Huntsconi is in 9th, Timo Balkiyavi is in 10th. Someone's just left, Michel D'Alessandro. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, correct. Alessandro left, has to reboot his game. He has got 10 minutes to do so during this warm-up session. And now this is going to be interesting because all these drivers just had low fuel runs obviously on the wet tire. They need to fill up. Well, how much is it, James? Like 170 liters, 160, something like that? Yeah. Oh, Chris de Jong spins in Eau Rouge. Oh, I don't know if you catch that, to be honest, but there's a major crash here for Chris de Jong. I don't know if you caught that for Jim, but Chris de Jong spinning on Eau Rouge already. This is what I mean. These guys just ran low fuel, coming onto high fuel. It's again a different story over here. These conditions just unbelievably tricky. I have to say, James, coming back to qualifying, props to the drivers, because we had 10 drivers finishing their lap. And those were quite competitive lap times as well.
Yeah, indeed it is. So, yeah, indeed, well done to all the drivers completing the top 10. So, race fuel in a warm session. They need to use this time as best they can to make sure that they don't bog down at the start, because obviously starts are all new. Because obviously you don't want the most wheel spin, otherwise you're just going to end up possibly spinning into the path of another car. But we will see what they can do, and also you expect the drivers to be overly cautious into turn 1, let alone in the dry. So we'll see how it goes into turn 1. And now one thing that they do need to consider is possible aquaplaning, maybe. Maybe there's more water into turn 1 perhaps. But also they need to make sure that their brake bias isn't too far at the front and don't brake too late, otherwise they're just going to end up going straight into the back and maybe causing a huge chain reaction. And that's not what we want to see, so we will see what will happen. But it's nice to see a fairly, well, a more full grid with 22 drivers this time, so that's good. It's nice to see more drivers in ACE, and it also makes it more interesting because there's more probability of overtake. So we'll see how it goes in the race. Of course, it will be 35 laps, and it will be maybe a longer broadcast than usual, because obviously the lap times are going to be slower, and we've still got to complete the same race distance, which is 80% of the full race distance what the World Championship will do. So it's obviously 35 laps. But definitely the strategy is going to be interesting here. How long will them wet tyres last? And also, who's going to be brave, go on to the intermediates. Now, one thing that the drivers also need to be careful about, and this was sort of when FSR did its own little test race, and I noticed this, was that in the pit lane, now obviously not many drivers are going to be going across it. So in the end, pretty much, the drivers it'll pretty much be like ice, especially on worn, wet or intermediate tyres. It's going to be really difficult, so they do need to be careful going into the pit lane and again on the exit as well. So it's something for them to consider, especially with having the tyres not up to temperature, what they would be if they had done 2 or 3 laps. But we'll see how it goes. And Mike Partington practicing his starts, making sure he gets a good start, and then just has quite a lot of oversteer there. So we'll see how it goes. Now fuel load is going to be a big factor in this, and we'll see what happens at the start. I think it'll be very interesting, but we'll see how it goes. And it's nice to see, as I said, having a more full grid in this. And also, hang on, there was just a massive crash with Eros Pasquale and Christian. And Christian putting a message in the server chat. But yeah, I think Chris just ran into the back of Eros Pasquale, and Pasquale was trying to do a practice start, I think, on the GP2, I think. Is it?
The pit lane.
Yeah, the GP2 pit lane section. And someone else has crashed.
There are a lot of crashes going on at the moment. I mean, it is quite tough. Another start or crash down the start-finish straight because people practice their starts. This is something, another factor, visibility. With all the spray coming off the tires. I mean, Fred Gisconi is right now the first one to set the lap time after 4 minutes and somewhat seconds. These drivers are struggling at the moment with the high fuel, and it is so tricky because with the high fuel, the car tends to roll so much more into the corners. And the rear end can step out on corner entry, and that's something you don't want to do. And especially with the elevation changes around this track, with the height changes in terms of track, it's really easy for the rear end to step out on corner entry. But coming back to that visibility, that's gonna be a huge factor, obviously at the start as well. Spray coming from about 20 cars, that is going to create poor visibility for the people driving behind. And if something goes wrong at the front, it might cause a chain reaction. James, we talked about it before the broadcast. We remember the massive Spa crash at the start in '96, I think you said.
86.
86. 86.
No,
it's not 86.
No,
it's not 86.
Yeah,
it's not 86. I'm sure about that.
Yeah.
But
anyway, we know
at the front.
Yeah.
If it happens there at the front, something can cause a huge chain reaction, like that crash in Spa, which is just so epic. And also, with all these cars driving on the track right now at the same time, and the rain starts to ease off, we might see a racing line as well. And when the racing line starts to appear, that is where another factor comes into play, and that is driving on the racing line. You need to be extremely precise in this game when it is about the drying racing line. When you go off it by a centimeter already, and you end up on the wet part of the track, or the wetter part of the track I should say, the more wet part of the track, you're just going to understeer off pretty much. So you need to be extremely precise when a dry racing line starts to appear. But it's not time for that yet, because it is still absolutely pissing down with rain, and there's quite a big cloud covering the track as well at the moment. Well, when you look at the radar at Spa, there are sometimes a few clear patches over here and there, but I guess it's just not enough to really let the track dry up a bit. It is quite light rain at the moment, but the intensity is quite big of that light rain.
Yeah, indeed it is. Now, there were sections of the track that was getting more sun, and it was looking pretty good on rFactor 2. But it seems to have been covered up by the clouds at the moment. So we'll see how it goes in the race. Whether we're going to see rain throughout the whole of the race, we'll have to see. But we'll see what happens. Now, 2 minutes and 37 seconds on the clock. And currently, I think the drivers are just finding it maybe a little bit difficult with the heavy fuel loads. I'm seeing a lot more people spinning off. So, and I think there may be a high rate of attrition at Spa, especially with the way. I mean, it's a difficult track in the dry, but having the rain is just going to make it even more difficult, and it is even more fun for everyone to watch on the broadcast, and it's more of a challenge for the drivers. But we may see a little bit more attrition than what we do if it was dry. But I'm sure we will still get a good race, and hopefully we don't see too many people going off, because you want to see the most drivers finish, because obviously, you know, it's more entertaining because it's more likely for battles to take place on the track. So anyway, so we'll see what happens. We're getting closer and closer to the start of this race, and I'm sure everyone is in anticipation for the start and see how it will go. But it's a pretty new thing for FSR. I mean, there have been quite a lot of tests, but it recently did get passed in the FSR administration, so it should be very interesting to watch. But yeah, so as we said, well, as I said, there's not many drivers completing a lap. I'm currently 5 seconds off the qualifying pace, so that's very interesting. And no one seems to be beating Princess Goni's time. So we'll see how this race pans out.
Just under a minute to go then, and the hearts are definitely rising, not only for the drivers, but obviously also for us. We want to see some fantastic battles over here, as you said already, James. Let's hope that many people finish this race. Now, talking about cutting, it is extremely easy to cut certain corners over here, or extend corners. And because it is such a long race, you could get penalized quite easily, you know, and the long track, I should say. I didn't really mean a long race, but a long track, because there are so many places around this track where you can cut, and usually you are allowed to cut 10% of the race distance. So, for example, when you have a track like, I don't know, name something, which is 42 laps, then you are allowed to cut about 4 laps, maybe even 5, not even sure. But for this one, it is like, how many laps was it, James? Like 35. 35. You know, so that those are 3 cuts, and the track is longer as well. So the percentage that you are going to get penalized because of cutting is a bit higher. So you need to keep it clean as well. Obviously, a lot of people are running wide already. But hey, it creates at least some excitement. And let's hope we get a good battle, at least at the front. It would be amazing to see. Maybe some change in conditions there as well. Would be amazing if it actually started to dry up towards the halfway mark of the race. But it doesn't look like that at the moment. It's still just pouring down with rain. There's also no one who even dares to go out on intermediate, so that says enough as well. But why would you go on intermediate? There's absolutely no drying line, so yeah, it makes no sense to go on intermediate, of course. But it's just really wet at the moment.
Indeed. I think one thing that rFactor 2 could improve on, and if Parisis, who is our cameraman for this race, I don't think he's doing the races for Pro and World Championships later on this weekend, but thanks for Parisis for stepping in, and at least everyone gets a broadcast. Anyway, besides the point, if Parisis, you could go on board with the driver in the pit lane. Let's have a look at Partington. Just looking at the rain. Now, the rain is in the garage. There's probably one thing that rFactor 2 could improve on, because it's not really very realistic, but I'm sure with build updates, I'm sure ISO will improve on rFactor 2. I mean, they've done a good job, because I remember a time when rFactor 2 was very unstable, but now it's stable for racing, and it's definitely progressing quite a lot. So anyway, so rain, it's a new thing for FSR, but we will see how it pans out for all 22 drivers, or even 23 drivers racing today in these dynamic weathers.
Jim's in that list as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, sorry.
So it's 22.
So 2.
Yep, 22 drivers in this race. And you see people already, you know, saying in the chat right now, low downforce, high downforce, what do you do in terms of setup? It is such a different race. If you have made a setup completely for the dry, you are having a bit of a tough time at the moment. I mean, Martin Hoyes may be one who thought it was going to be dry. I mean, he has been struggling a lot. What are you going to do with the wet weather? You know, more downforce, lower downforce. What do you do in terms of mechanical balance, lowering the rear anti-roll bar, whatever? You do need to do something, because it are just different conditions, of course, and the track gives different kind of grip. Don't go full retard, is what Chris de Jong says in the chat. Let's hope that most people will keep it clean at the start. It will be difficult, and as I said, if something happens at the front, it might cause a huge chain reaction. But I'm gonna presume that it's going to stay clean. And let's keep our fingers crossed. Jem Bolokbassi is the only guy on the track right now. Goes actually into the pit lane at the moment. So we're waiting for Blair Disley once again to go into the race. Now James, in the pit lane, I don't know if you can see it as well, but there's a certain part of the pit lane where it seems to be absolutely dry. Can you see that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So imagine having a pit box over there.
Right.
Suddenly going from full wet to what looks like a dry track. Don't know if there's some kind of roof hanging overneath.
Yeah,
that.
there is.
Yep. Yeah, there indeed is. So that's the reason why it's dry. What is nice about rFactor 2 is when you have billboards, for example, going over the track, below that it will be actually dry, so there won't be any, or well, it will be mostly dry, because obviously there's some kind of billboard hanging over the circuit. That is quite nice, to be honest. I like the way they have done that. We're waiting for Alessio Campos, I believe, James. Campos is not... So Blair, can I join a race when I want? Campos is indeed left the server. So we're waiting for Alessio Campos at the moment. It's a bit weird. How's the weather forecast looking? It should be light cloudy right now in Spa. Well, I can tell you out on track it's pouring down with rain. The whole day there's been about a, well, 40%, maybe 50% chance of rain. For tomorrow it will be the exact same, so there's a high chance we are going to see rain in WC as well. In Pro we don't use rain, as James already explained, I believe.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting because it should have been dry in Spa for quite a while, at least not raining. It should be some clouds, which is true. But it shouldn't be raining this hard the whole time, I feel.
No, I think it will change over the course of the race.
Yeah.
Because Blair Disley does have the option to stop the rain and edit the intensity and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see how it goes. It should be good, but you know, there's not really a lot to talk about at the moment while we wait for the formation lap.
Well, we could talk about Rens Klopp because he is not here.
Yeah, it's true. May change up the Drivers' Championship. Well, I think, let's be honest, I think pretty much... Actually, that's something that we can talk about.
Kiss has got it. But,
yes.
But it's about the second place, because I think Ragusa is in there as well, right?
Yes.
So Ragusa is still battling with Rens Klopp quite heavily in the championship. Klopp being not here for Spa at the moment, which is quite a shame. I would have liked to see how he handled the rain. But maybe didn't have enough time, whatever. I do believe that Klopp is really busy with personal commitments and stuff, so I don't blame him. And it actually is the crash was Spa 98, I believe, not 96.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who corrected us. Anyway, so we may as well run through the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. So, as we said, Daniel Kiss is in first place on 330 points. Now, Giuseppe Ragusa is on 224. If he gets a good solid result here, I mean, he can extend the gap between Klopp, which is only 10 points. Hoyer is in 4th on 180. Hodas is in 5th on 178. So that's also another good battle going on. Interesting to see what happens in the race. Elsa Skili is in 6th on 167. Parisis, Georges is on 159, Ruud Heesbeek is on 147 in 8th, Mike Partington is in 9th on 140, and Marek Godek is on 136 in 10th. Constructors quickly rounds that up, so Twister pretty much won the Constructors Championship on 544 points. BBR Life for Racing on 326 points. Lovell Event at SimRacing in 3rd on 318. So that's a good battle between BBR Life for Racing and Lovell Event SimRacing. Event by Pescara is in 247 in 4th place. Ariconic Racing Blue Team is in 5th place on 221. And then Aricon Racing's main team is on 190 in 6th. Go Through Racing's main team is on 178. GS Engineering is in 8th on 177. Fast and Speed are in 9th on 102, and Comunidad JDT Team is in 10th on 101, so only 1 point the gap between Fast and Speed and Comunidad JDT Team. So that is all the Constructors and Drivers' Championship rounded up. So let's just look who's at the back of the grid and pit lane start, just referring back to it. So Parisis is on a back of the grid, and Marigoda is in a pit lane start. So if there is an incident in turn 1 and Godek's in the pits, obviously he's going to miss out all the incident and just go out of the pit. So that might be good for Godek, starting at the back of the grid. So now we should be moving to the race, where, as I will repeat again, we will have 35 laps, and it should be exciting. But we'll see what happens in this race, especially in turn 1 and especially in Eau Rouge. I'm sure it's going to get dramatic, but how dramatic we will see. Anyway, let's go into the race, and indeed we are now. So the formation lap is going to take place in about 27 seconds. So drivers adding fuel loads, brake ducts, who's obviously outside of the top 10, and we currently waiting for everyone to go to the grid. So, formation lap is now underway. So, let's round through the grid. So, my party turn is in first place. Jem Bolabasi is in second. Pashalis Jurgis is in third. Mihal is in fourth. Arosaskili is in fifth. Michel D'Alessandro is in sixth. Chihoya is in seventh. Giuseppe Ragusa is in eighth. Michelle Francisconi is in 9th, and Timu Valchiavi is in 10th place. Now, Jeroen, trying to round out the rest of the grid for us?
Absolutely. We've got Victor Ivanov in 11th place, being followed by Martin Hodes in 12th. We've been looking at him quite a bit already during qualifying, see how he can do in the race. Riera is then in 13th, or behind him I should say, is Thiago Almeida, being followed by Chris de Jong in 15th place, Fabrizio Gobbi in 16th, and then from there onwards are the pit lane starts. Godek is already waiting, so he's looking forward to it. Does he have his engine shut off though? That's the question, otherwise it may overheat. Yes, he did shut it off, I think. No, he did not. Okay, so Godek is waiting already. But he is in 19th, Faustini is in 17th, Heestebeek in 18th, Godek is set in 19th, Prieto in 20th, and Shatsi Pantel is also with a pit lane start, is 21st. Now I think it started to rain a bit heavier, to be honest, when we switched session. At least the raindrops look a little bit more heavy on my screen. So, you know, the beginning of this race, it started to rain even harder, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it did. There in the background though, I saw some blue skies. Especially on this part of the track, you can see it behind the grandstand. When you look at Mike Partington's point of view, you can see it a little bit. Not with the T-cam, but in the cockpit cam, you can definitely see it being quite bright above his head. Anyway, he's coming here through turn 16 and will prepare himself then as he starts from that pole position. And he's being followed by Jem Bolabasi, who has been very, very impressive already.
Yeah, it was impressive over at Silverstone, and he's looking impressive here. Now, one thing that did happen to Jem is that he did have a disconnect at Silverstone, I
yeah, his
believe.
ping's looking good right now, though.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Be a real shame.
I agree.
Especially with him having pretty decent pace and has got a really good chance at challenging for the win here at Spa. Mike Partington coming out the bus stop chicane now, and he will be the first one on the grid. Now, Partington is on the inside line, so he can defend the inside line if he gets a good start, but we will see. This rain is going to make it a lot more difficult on the start as the drivers go into their pit boxes. So, Jeroen, do you want to take us through the start?
Absolutely, we're waiting for Fabrizio Gobbi there to come into his pit or his grid slot, which he has done so right now. And staring at those lights already, they are coming on right now, Saturday the 12th of September, and the race is go now with Partington having a good start. Jumbo Lacrosse having an even better start though, heading down to turn 1. No pressure so far. All these cars heading into turn 1. It's a great sight with all the spray. Visibility will be very poor. My Partington still leading at the exit of turn 1, being followed by Jumbo Lacrosse and Georges in third. So no major changes at the front. If these guys are going to head up to Arouge right now, I don't think any major crashes. That's good to see. Partington is going through Arouge. Seems to be pretty clear. Jumbo Lacrosse goes off. Needs to be very careful. There's a bump on the outside of Arouge. Almost lost it over there. And Partington still leading over here. Massive amount of spray as the sun starts to shine right now. As the race is underway, as we know. Coming into this turn over here. And Hoyer has made some contact, I think, with Michal on Horowski, whatever it was. But they seem to be good, are they? Yes, it does look like it. So everything is starting to settle. Turn 10 here is that long hairpin. And no DNFs at the moment. This is looking really good. Props to all these drivers. Partington still leading then from Jambolic Bassi, being followed by Paschalis Georges. Hoyer climbed up a position after Michal Czochowski had to go wide into turn 6. Or 7, I think it is. Yep, 7. Coming through Puhan. Seems to be pretty stable so far for everyone. No crashes yet, I don't think.
Well,
no. Yeah,
there was a little incident at the start with Riera. I think he lost his front left end plate, so
right.
that's obviously going to affect him. But yeah, so we'll see how he does. Now we do have yellow flags in the middle sector.
Shotzi Pantelis in Puhan. He just spun it in the middle of Puhan. Shotzi Pantelis has to recover from the back during this race. No damage for him though, just a simple spin, I would say. Bolek Bassi not letting Partington go here at the end of the first lap. It's interesting to see all these lines that the drivers are taking as well. It's fascinating to see, in my opinion. I'm really enjoying this dynamic weather at the moment. First lap completed then, as I said, my Partington is leading from Bolek Bassi, but the top 3 is having a decent pace at the moment, especially the top 2. Bolek Bassi not letting Partington go at the moment, and Georges is hanging on to it as well.
Ooh, I just saw yellow flags.
Godek is out. What happened to Godek? Ooh, Godek spun on the exit of the bus stop chicane and just slammed it absolutely into the wall. Almost looks like aquaplaning, to be honest.
Yeah.
Incredible. Godek, our first retirement of the day. Very sad for him. Obviously started from the pit lane as well. No major battles here at the back. All these drivers know how to keep it clean. Ooh, you see some drivers sliding though like crazy. But able to just keep it on track at the moment. Nicely done by all these guys. I mean, I'm seriously impressed. I did not expect this many cars to get through without any damage on the first lap.
Indeed, I think it is definitely really impressive. Valkyrie just seems to be struggling with his front end, seems to be having a lot of understeer and going into pull. Oh, Valkyrie manages to save it. That was definitely a heart-stopping moment for Valkyrie, who also races in iRacing, but Valkyrie seems to be struggling with his car, at least on the front. Just seems to have quite a lot of understeer, and again the car just not gripping up. And it's looking like it's not an enjoyable experience at the moment for Valkyrie. But let's just see. I thought the rain stopped, but clearly when you go faster on this, it looks like the rain just stops. But when you go on the off-board shots, clearly it's raining. So anyway, so Valkyrie is currently 1.5 seconds away from Franciscone. He seems to be struggling quite a lot, but let's have a look to the front. Bolabassi seems to be having a good pace, and so is Partington. Seem to be having the best wet setups at this point in time. We'll see how the race progresses. Will the rain stop? And then will we see intermediates and even possibly the dry tyres? Obviously no DRS, but the slipstream seems to be very powerful here at Spa. Partington doesn't really defend the inside line, but Bolabassi trying to go around the outside, but seems to have quite a lot of understeer with the obviously with the rain and couldn't make the pass stick, but definitely putting Partisan under pressure here.
And immediately Bolo Bassi falls into the clutches of Paschalis. George is going deep into the happen. This is what I mean. Fascinating to see these different lines being taken from drivers, although it costs George's time more than anything else. Partington still leading now, as we saw there, battling with Bolo Bassi, who immediately seems to be closing the gap down visually a bit. Seems like Jan Bolo Bassi is running lower downforce compared to Mike Partington. Obviously he had a slipstream advantage, but the deficit seems to be pretty huge between the two. The straight line speed difference between the two, I should say. Gaps are starting to form over here. No major battles apart from Gobby going off at Pujon. Immediately is being challenged by Almeida, who goes side by side into turn 13. But Gobby has the inside line, so that is all settled as well. We should focus at the front still. It's really the top two who has got good pace. Paschalis can't seem to be really keeping up. Well, Bassi does keep up with Partington at the moment, so that is great to see. As I said, a top two battle, a battle for the lead is always nice to see. Slowing it down for the bus stop. Again, Bolo Bassi nailing the apex a bit better, going fully over the curb. And puts the power down nicely as well. Bolo Bassi looking really confident with his driving at the moment. And is only 5/10 behind Partington. Is he going to get another shot at it? That's the question. He seems to be further back behind than he was before, so you would say no. But let's see. Let's go on board with Jan Bolo Bassi if we can. Coming through Arouge over here. Now see what kind of difference it is. James, you can see the top speed from Partington. I'll have a look what Jan Bolo Bassi reaches at the end of this straight. Goes into 7th gear here at the moment, into the slipstream obviously as well, so Bolo Bassi will have the advantage. And he hits 325 kilometers an hour.
Passing through 17, so the one thing that with Jan Bolo Bassi is that if he's gone for a higher downforce, a lower downforce sensor, and when the tyres eventually start to degrade, will he start to struggle even more, because obviously he won't have the grip what the fresher wet tyres will offer him, and also he's going to be maybe overheating his front tyres with obviously being behind in the dirty air, and obviously all the brakes and the engine will be getting hotter from Partington's car as well. But yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. The gaps are, as you said, are starting to form, but it appears that De Sangio and Francesconi are quite close to each other. Only 4/10 separates them, but Jan Bolo Bassi and Mike Partington are the two drivers that are closest to each other. And can Bolo Bassi get power down? Well, he's 6/10 off from the middle sector, but this is where he starts to catch up to Partington, which is through sector 3 and the first sector, where more lower downforce is required. Partington, it looked like he was going a little bit wide, but managed to keep it on the track, so good job from Partington at the moment. And we've got yellow flags in the final sector.
Yes, there is some debris. Exit turn 16. Victor Ivanov is driving without a front wing. Ivanov spun on the exit of turn 16. Just a driver error trying to put the power down. So Victor Ivanov has to go into the pit and repair his car. Any battles? Yes, Ragusa versus Timo Varkijärvi. A battle for P9 at the moment. Seems like the battle for the lead is settling down a little bit. So let's focus here on Timo versus Giuseppe Ragusa. Looking rather nice through Arouge. Ragusa definitely quite far back. Ragusa is dropping. Wow, Ragusa is dropping a lot to Timo Varkijärvi down straight, despite being in the slipstream. As again the sun starts to come out. It's fascinating to see, but no racing line visible at the moment. So no drying line, I should say, visible at the moment. I do hope it's going to come soon though. And Ragusa has so much more grip than Timo Varkijärvi, but Timo has got the straight line speed. Timo picks up so much understeer here through the hairpin as well, through turn 10. Corner with no name. Again, Timo struggling definitely for pace. Ragusa goes on the inside for Pujon. They're going side by side into Pujon. And, well, they try to go around the outside. Well, Timo does try to go around the outside, but he knows he's got the lift off. He doesn't have the grip. And Ragusa manages to stick it on the inside of Wuhan. Definitely 10 for bravery though for Timu for trying. And Timu sticking quite closely to Ragusa, so it may not be over just yet. As we said, Timu having really low downforce apparently, especially compared to Ragusa. That seems to be dropping here a bit in the traction zones again, so this battle might settle for the time being as well. Ooh, people running a bit off the track on the exit of Blanchimont.
Chris de Jong's retired.
And Chris de Jong is retired indeed. Second retirement of the day. Chris de Jong rage quit, more or less. Yeah, just stopped the car, had some oversteer on the exit of Wuhan and decided to stop his car, maybe wanting to spectate the race, whatever, maybe there's another reason for it as well.
I have to say, the sun seems to be coming out, so if the rain stops, it should be stopping relatively soon. If
I don't know, it seems to be really like bright. Like, let me put it like this, the rain seems to be heavier than it should be when you look up at the sky.
Yeah.
There's not a single appearance of a drying line either, which I find a big shame because I think there should be. I mean, there are 18 cars running on this track the whole time at the moment, but not a single kind of drying line starting to appear. In fact, the spray color of the cars is still the same.
Sorry, Jeroen.
Yeah, Jem.
Michel D'Alessandro has just crashed and has gone into the wall. So, shame for him.
Ooh, exit off turn 7, 8 even.
Yeah.
Decided to stop. Probably too much suspension damage for D'Alessandro and he retires. So, a few retirements over here now, 3 retirements. Not bad considering the conditions yet again. As it seems like Paschalis Georges is picking up the pace as well. He is a third contender here for the battle for first place at the moment. He was in fact quicker than Mike Partington over the course of last lap by 0.3 of a second. So it seems like Paschalis Georges is looking rather stable at the moment and quick as well.
Indeed. But the gap between Partington and Jan Bolabasi hasn't really changed over the course of a couple of laps. It seems that Bolabasi goes a little bit deep into the final corner.
That's just later on the brakes, to be honest.
Yeah, and then just doesn't get the traction out of the final corner, so that means that he just struggles and loses a little bit of time.
He compromises his exit speed for entry speed. I mean, in some cases this could absolutely work, but because the acceleration is quite important as you have to start finish straight after that, it seems to be a better choice to go for exit speed rather than entry. So seconds still separating these guys. Again, Jem closed down by 0.3 over the course of the first sector. Paschalis is dropping off again, so Paschalis is able to do a quick lap, but then immediately has to back out of it again. Not really consistent, but I'm sure the conditions are a big part of the reason for that. It's very, very easy to get too greedy with the power. I think there is some kind of drying line starting to appear. I do not think it is raining as hard as it was before, but I may be wrong. I thought I saw the track changing quite a bit, becoming a bit brighter in turn 11. That would be good news, to be honest. It is still raining, but it seems like the intensity is a little bit lower, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong though. So Partington still leading this race. Lap 6 already. These guys are well, still going. And Michał Antochowski is on the back of Hoyer. This is quite a good battle. Hoyer in 5th place at the moment. Michał in 6th. Hoyer having good straight line speed though. And good traction out of the exit of turn 16. Well, through Blanchimont yet again. Despite the wet weather. So Hoyer is looking at the back of Adolf Mashuli's cars. One goes deep into the bus stop. Hoyer does so a bit as well. Then it goes fully over those curbs over there. It's amazing to see that. And in fact, Hoyer has had a fantastic final sector. Maybe also lower downforce. I mean, this is an interesting track in terms of car setup. Hoyer just about able to slow it down for the first corner. But not looking all that stable. But what else do you expect in these conditions again? It's an interesting track in terms of setup. Coming back onto that, I mean, the first and third sector are pretty much low downforce. Then you have the second sector where you can gain, careful Hoyer, where you're going off track, where you can easily gain about 5 tenths when you have higher downforce. So it's quite interesting. We know that Masciuli is running high downforce, which allows Hoyer the whole time to close up to him. Hoyer hitting the apex a bit better than Masciuli does so through these corners. But then again, Masciuli will be able to put the power down earlier on the exit of turn 9, which is the corner they just went through, because of the different lines they are taking.
Oh, Francesconi. I think he sort of did an Alonso. I can't remember what year it was, but when he just... Yes. Ah, yeah, okay, I remember that. But yeah, he just lost traction out of... What corner
turn
is
9.
it? Yes, yes it is, of course it is. Turn 9. So yeah, unfortunately for Francesconi, it's dropped him outside of the top 10, but we'll see if he can catch up. Now, I did see a driver who had his pit light on, and that is Timo Valkyarvi. So, pitting relatively early, you would
But
think.
not really a surprise, to be honest.
No.
This guy has been struggling quite a bit. For example, when you take Mike Partington, he has done 2 minute 0.5, and he's now doing 2 minute 0.7, so that's 2 seconds slower. These tires are starting to wear right now. What will be interesting is to see when these guys are going to pit. Is it going to be 1 stop, 2 stop, 3 stop, whatever, even a 6 stop, whatever. But I want to know what kind of how many stops this race is. It's definitely not going to be a 6 stopper, obviously. At least I presume it's not. Probably not, because we're already 7 laps into this race. But still, strategy is also a factor here. It's still raining as well. No kind of drying line at the moment. It keeps fascinating me, and there is... Oh, Ragusa almost spun, and Timo indeed in the pit lane. So the first pit stop here of the day, let's have a look at that. Timo Valkyarvi coming into the pit lane from P8. Quite a tricky pit entry, you do need to practice that, otherwise you may have a problem. Timo taking it relatively easy here on the pit entry, which is probably the best thing to do. Just flicks on another set of wet tires, of course. He goes out on track yet again. And he rejoins in E15 or 14, 15, just behind Gobby. Let's see what Valkyarvi can do. Straight away putting the pressure off Fabrizio Gobby with those fresh tires in the dirty air through Eau Rouge. Timo Valkyarvi keeping it nicely on the track despite the dirty air. He picks up the slips from over here as well, will be crucial for Timo Valkyarvi to get past straight away. And he does so indeed. Downforce than Gobby, having the momentum, the first tires as well turns into this corner, and it sticks nicely to the track for him. So it's Timo then in 14th place at the moment, and Pascal is definitely dropped off for the battle for the battle of the lead. In fact, he's about 1.1 seconds slower a lap, and the front guys are starting to pick up the pace a bit again. They are a second quicker, than what they were doing before. Is that an indication that the track is starting to dry up? Maybe. It is still raining, but I doubt the raindrops are or were as big as they were before. Or are as big as they were before, I should say. Apologies. Let's see what they do this lap. They were doing 2 minutes 7.4 before. Last time round they did a 2 minute 0.6. I don't know what they are doing this lap. It's very important to keep track of the track conditions. They are doing a 2 minute 5.6. Okay, this is getting interesting. That was almost the fastest lap of the race from Partington. He was 300ths of a second off. And, whoa, James, go ahead. I mean, that was
Bolabassi nearly ran into the back of Partington going into turn 1. But yeah, what I was just about to say is
it's getting drier.
Yes, indeed it is. And I think I'm starting to see a line, or is that...
Oh, wait, it's starting to rain again heavily.
Yeah.
On Eau Rouge, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So again, heavy rain here. Yeah, go ahead.
I thought Eau Rouge just seemingly getting a more drier line, but definitely...
It's pouring again.
Yeah, I know. Now we're coming into the middle section of the track, and it just seems to be raining a lot more heavier, so the driver needs to be a lot more...
Yeah. Amazing.
I think it needs a little bit of editing, but on the whole, it's looking.
fantastic.
It's good. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different
definitely.
element for. I think this is in fact the first time FSR's ever used on whether in a race. I may be completely wrong with that, but on the whole, but my point is it's looking a lot better, and it adds a different element to rFactor 2. It makes it more interesting. It's more difficult, so it's a good thing. It's a good step in the right direction. And with a little bit of an improvement, this could be a fantastic thing for FSR to use. But on the whole, I mean, it's a good thing to use, and it's very interesting to see how the drivers cope with different conditions, and track temperature and air temperature. It's just a lot more interesting. But seemingly, throughout the middle sector, it looks a lot more heavier with rain. Whether that's just me, or
no,
that's
definitely not.
actually how it is.
You can even see the raindrops being bigger, like the intensity is more, but the raindrops itself are bigger as well. I want to know how that translates into lap time, because the sun is again starting to set or come up as well. So there are so many factors in this race. They did 2:05 before. In fact, Mashouli set his personal best of the whole race. One lap later, it started to rain again. They are doing 2:04 as Jambole Bassi goes into the pit lane and probably tries to do an undercut on Mike Partington. This is extremely important for the race, and also extremely important for him that he comes out in clean air. Jambole Bassi in the pit lane, flicks on a set of wet tires, of course. But where is he going to feed out? James, take us through it.
We'll see. So Martinello's currently going down the straight, but pretty much Bolabassi's timed it well and is now pretty much in some clean air. But hang on, Ragusa, apologies, I didn't see Ragusa. He's just gone around the outside of Bolabassi, so this hasn't worked at all, really. So he's now going to have to go and pass Ragusa. So he's going to get the slipstream. He's going to use the lower downforce, and it's a simple move, really, down in towards the start of sector 2. Pretty much a simple move, but it could have worked out a little bit better. But on the whole, this worked out well for Bolabassi. But Ragusa seemingly maybe struggling a little bit on them worn tyres. But especially with that high downforce, maybe struggling a little bit on the straights. But of course, he will get better tyre wear. So anyway, we'll see how this race pans out. But Ragusa now flicks his pit light on, and look at the gap what Bolabassi's just created. Them fresher tyres definitely improving lap time for Bolabassi. I mean, he's already gained 2.2 seconds. Look at the understeer what Ragusa has into Pujon. Really a lot of understeer. And in fact, Bolabassi is on a charger at the moment, just past Hoyer. So looking really good. And it appears that all the drivers that haven't pitted at the moment are struggling. So Bolabassi seemingly timing that pit stop right. Michel going very right.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but Jem is just lighting up the timing screen at the moment. 4 seconds quicker, well, a little bit less than 4 seconds quicker than the race leader Mike Partington. And Partington is going to respond, but he is going to end up behind Jambole Bassi anyway. 4 seconds in one sector. Amazing, just amazing. The new tires are so much quicker. Fresh tires, of course, I should say. And the intensity is again decreasing. Partington, it looked like he overshot his grid, or his pit box rather. And a lot of cars into the pit lane right now. So lap 11 of the race, lap 10. These guys are all going into the pit lane. And Bolabassi is already on the exit of turn 1. And Partington is not even on the pit exit. He is right now exiting the pit lane. What a huge gap after one lap. That is unbelievable. Wow, I am amazed, absolutely astonished by the gap that Jambole Bassi is. A superior outlap from him, definitely. But I also believe that the tire difference in terms of just grip was quite a bit different. Again, the sun starts to come up a bit, and the intensity of rain is decreasing. So we are going to see some quick laps here for sure. And lower fuel, of course.
Yeah. Indeed. So, what is quite astonishing is that the fact that Bolabassi just one outlap and he's managed to create around a 7 second gap to Mike Partington. So that is a really sizable gap. And ultimately, if Bolabassi doesn't make any mistakes, he's got a very good chance of winning this race. And I believe he'll be the first driver in FSR history, if he does win, to win in dynamic weather. So, big props to him, but has a little bit of oversteer as I say that. So, just needs to keep his head cool, and he's got a very good chance. But we'll see how this race goes. Currently 23 laps left in this race, but it's definitely very exciting at the moment, and definitely strategy very much more important as Bolabasi. Oh, okay.
The gap is in fact 9 seconds. That is absolutely astonishing. And the rain stopped. Good spot from Jim Parisis, who said the rain stopped. The rain indeed stopped. Wow. Okay. Lap 12 of the race, rain definitely stopped. Now the question is, when is the drying line going to appear? Next question is the rain going to come back again? It is Spa, so you would say it is going to come back. But there are no raindrops anymore. All of a sudden the rain decided to stop, although the intensity has been increasing quite a bit over the last couple of laps. And now, as I said, we all start to look at the track and see where the dry patches start to show up first. But 9 seconds, that is absolutely huge. Bolabasi leading this race. Partington already overtook Ragusa, who's obviously on worn tires as well. Next up for Partington is Hoyer, who's 8.4 seconds behind Jem Bolabasi. Jem Bolabasi going with that one lap undercut gives them a huge advantage, and suddenly the race victory seems to be, well, he seems to be favored for the race victory. The race is in his hands, he can control it, while Mike Partington was in that position before. But the rain indeed completely stopped over the whole track, so that's a good spot from our cameraman, of course. Jim Parisis, again, a big thank you for stepping in and making this broadcast possible, despite the usual broadcast guys being not here. Partington on the back of Hoyer. In the background there's a battle as well between Georgius and Ragusa. Look at the grip difference here. Partington, despite in the dirty air, still having so much more grip than Hoyer.
Indeed. Now, one thing that is going to maybe come into play is as the track dries up until Partington nearly runs the back of Hoyer. Seemingly Hoyer struggling quite a lot on them worn, wet tyres. First time I've had to say that, commentating on FSR, anyway. But yeah, so Bolabasi, 12 point...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Just is going around the outside of Ragusa and Blancy. Oh, no! What a move, he runs right though, sorry! Wow, what a time for bravery for Georgius, holy shit! A big battle here, sorry for interrupting you, Michał Antochowski, whatever it is his name. Also got past Els Mashuli, or he decides to go into the pit lane, but holy shit. Well, Georgius is on the charge. I need to look at the replay again. I thought they were seriously going to go side by side into there. Well, they were at the point of doing so. And Georgius just turns into the corner like there's no tomorrow. Wow. Sorry. That was amazing. Sorry. Partington in clean air right now as well, of course. 12.8 seconds behind Jem Bolabasi and Georgius, who I absolutely love at the moment, is in third. What can Georgius do as well? That would be interesting. Mike Partington is doing 2:05. That was previous lap when he was battling, of course. In the meantime, Jem Bolabasi has been doing 2:02 the whole time. The rain is still stopped.
We should see a dry line coming in the next probably 2 or 3 laps. So
you would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Going on the basis of previous wet testing, that's how it normally progresses, I think. Maybe completely wrong, but we'll see. I mean, it's all a new thing for us, so obviously it's something we'll have to get used to.
Yeah, not only for us, but also for the drivers, and that is something I really like. It's also new for the drivers. These guys, obviously, you can practice it, but you can never know exactly how a race is going to pan out. And I think we are starting to see the indications that the drying line is going to come indeed, because there are a few of really black spots here and there on the racing line itself, which are probably going to become patches, dry patches, in a little second, or a few laps I should say.
I think one thing that we need to look at is the last lap for both Bolabasi and Partington.
Yep,
seemingly
purple.
Yeah, exactly. So Partington did a 2-minute .9, whereas Bolabasi did a 2-minute .1.3. So it's 4 tenths, but obviously at some point Bolabasi will have to go to the intermediate tyres, but this is going to be really crucial because but at the moment in that first pit stop he timed it exceptionally well. I'm unsure whether he has an engineer for this race, but if that was his own call, that is sensational, and that's an absolute credit to him. If that was the case and he just did it on his own merit, then that's great. But whoever his engineer is, maybe someone can say in the comments. But yeah, whoever it was a fantastic call, and they definitely deserve a lot of credit. But Bolabasi needs to time it well to when to go onto the intermediate tyres, because obviously a dry line will start to form, and I think it's starting to form. Maybe. We'll see.
We should have quite a dry race. When you look at the predictions at the moment, it should be pretty dry at Spa. And then probably towards the end of the race there may be some showers, but definitely after the race there will be some showers again. So it may be dry for the rest of the whole race. And then it's going to be all about the dry line, as you have said as well. Paddington currently looking strong though, closing the gap to Jem Bolabasi a bit. Jem Bolabasi, as I said earlier, can control that gap, which is extremely nice as a leader. Any battles? That is a good question. Well, there are some battles, but not particularly any battles which are really heating up. Not a lot of battles with a lot of aggression or whatever. It's all just about the battles which there are the whole time about 6, 7 tenths following on each other. And someone is off, I think. Ooh, Heestebeek went wide on Blanchimont, the excellent Blanchimont. Able to keep it though. Nice save from Heestebeek. Steemu Varkejärvi again goes into the pit lane. And when are you going to start the intermediate tyres as well? When the dry line is going to appear.
Oh,
Bolabasi goes off.
Yeah.
Oh, Bolabasi very, very close to losing it. Good spot from you, James. It's just about to... Yeah, I just clicked on his name and I saw it. Bolabasi keeping it on track though. Trying to push, maybe trying to respond to Partington. Could that be the case?
Yeah, or maybe maybe struggling on the wet tyres, but that synchronised commentating was pretty good, I have to say. Anyway, looking at the last lap for Bolabasi and Partington, he's seemingly taking out 4 tenths. Now, obviously, due to that mistake with Bolabasi, obviously that gap is gonna, well, the lap time will have come down for Bolabasi, so maybe he's lost about 7 tenths on this lap, because it's now only 9.7 seconds. So Bolabasi may need to pit in the next couple of laps, because he's seemingly struggling. But as the track dries out, obviously, then we can switch to the intermediate tyres, and we'll see how that pans out.
There's definitely the drying line starting to come up.
Yes, indeed there is. Yep, starting to see it.
There really is. Yep. The black line, soon it will become really grey, and then you can see that it's really a drying line. But that line is starting to appear, that's for sure. And everyone except for Jem Bolabasi is doing personal best in the middle sectors. Not surprisingly, because of the mistake Jem had. Jem in fact goes purple again in the final sector, so good response from Bolabasi. Very, very nice to see that. He did a 2-minute flat last time round. Partington is surely going to be in the 1 or below 2 minutes, and he is indeed so.
158.8.
Yep, exactly. And Georges did a 0.2, so Georges is again on the charge, 6 tenths quicker than Partington. But we've seen that before with Georges. It's about whether he can keep his pace up, can he stay consistent. Maybe as the race dries up, he feels more and more comfortable, and it could, in terms of pace, it could start to lean towards his side. Who knows? Maybe will be a bit better and quicker in dry conditions, or drier than this at least. Obviously the rain stopped, but the track is still relatively wet. You can see it from the spray as well. The racing line is starting to appear, and it's definitely starting to get, well, kind of dryish. It is still quite black, but as you see in turn 11, the corner with no name, You can see it's starting to get a bit grey as well. Look at the entry of Pouhan. Yep, definitely some grey spots in there as well. And the racing line is indeed starting to come up right now, for sure. Just those few patches. I don't know. Let's look at Bolabasi, for example. Who
Yes,
again
and
goes
he's gone
deep.
off.
Yes, he again went deep. He is right on the limit, or sometimes a bit over the limit. Not deeply into gravel traps or anything like that. Despite that, Sales set a personal best second sector. That shows that the track is improving massively. But this is good, for example, because let's take Jeroen Bos, for example, if we can go on board with him or whatever.
Oh, hang on, Jeroen.
Yeah, go
Martin Honas has just spun through Pouhan.
Okay. Oh, that's... Yeah, and yep, lost the front wing. That must have been a big hit, lost the rear wing. Oh, this is gonna have to park it.
Oh, he just dropped it mid-corner. Just went
Okay.
straight into the wall. So maybe it is time to go and put on them intermediate tyres.
Well, I don't know. It's really tough to decide. As I said, it's the first time for everyone. Let's go let's see. Watch Jeroen Bos. You can see those grey kind of stripes pretty much over the racing line. That is the part which is going to become the dry line, of course. And what is great about rFactor, obviously, I think everybody knows it already, but it's not scripted. It's wherever the drivers go in terms of racing line, that is where the line is going to appear. That line will have the most grip because of the most rubber, at least in dry conditions. In the wet conditions here, this Jeroen Bos went a bit wider. These wet conditions, it obviously starts to become the drying line. On the entry of Pouhan, there you can clearly see it. You will see it here as well. If we look at Jem right here, there is a big patch of grayness, I would call it. And that is of course that drying line. So it's definitely starting to appear. What is also starting to appear in the distance a bit is Partington and Jurges for Jem. Jem is still looking somewhat solid. Again, a personal best in the second sector. But people around him are at the moment a bit quicker. Let's see what Partington did. Yeah, 3/10 quicker, but Jeroen Bos is starting to stabilize a bit, so that's good news for him for sure. Warrior is also really quick over the course of the last laps. He in fact is setting purple lap times. But right now is about the time where the wets are starting to give up and they don't gain as much time anymore as we have seen before. Despite the track still, changing in the driver's favor if you want to have a dry track.
Indeed, but the interesting thing is throughout the start-finish straight and indeed into turn 1, it's pretty much still wet compared to going through Eau Rouge where Bolabasi is now. And the middle sector, there's a significant more dry line forming, so that's something for the drivers to consider. I think maybe in 3 or 4 laps time the track will be ready for Inters as Bolabasi maybe pushing a little bit too hard and just went wide again, so seemingly struggling. There's yellow flags in the middle sector.
Yep, that is Almeida.
Yes it is.
Almeida went off, so we see some people struggling right now.
Shash Pantelis just went wide through Pouhan.
Yeah, we see a lot of driver errors.
Yeah.
It also indicates, of course, that these track conditions are quite challenging. The sun is out though, that is for sure. That's been over the last couple of laps. And that definitely helps the track starting to dry up as Partington goes a bit deep into Pouhan as well. This is, and Jurges takes advantage of that. Jurges moves up into second place. Partington went deep into Pouhan. And you can see now that drivers are starting to understeer when they go off the racing line. That is going to be such a big factor here. When you are 1 centimeter off the racing line, you understeer so much. So you need a lot of precision right now in your driving in order to keep it on the racing line. Because when you're not on the racing line, it's just wet and you're going to understeer off. And George is second place right now. How awesome is that? Obviously not for Mike Partington. Partington going deep into Pouhan and George just bouncing on that. And Jeroen Bos is in the pit lane again. He is the first one, I think, yeah he is, to take the gamble. What is he going to do? Inters, you would think. Is he going for Inters? He goes for wets. Wow. great. Okay, Bolek Bossy again going for wets. Maybe feeling like his tires went off or something. But is he again going to have that 4-second advantage which he had before? And what is the top 2 going to do right now? George and Partington. This opens up a huge strategic battle over here. Bolek Bossy rejoins in front of Michał Antonovsky, who may attack him or may not attack him. That's the question. It is crucial for Bolek Bossy to stay ahead of Michał here. Michał having the slipstream coming down to turn 6. Having a look on the inside, but Jem keeps it. Okay, that is extremely crucial for Jem. Look at the grip immediately from Bolek Bossy. He almost turned in too early to that corner. But holy shit, this is going to be epic now. George is leading this race. Lap 19, we definitely got past the halfway mark of this race. And there is yet so much more to be, so much action to be showed here. As the drawing line is of course getting bigger and bigger, wider and wider. When are we going to see the inters? And who is going to fit the inters first? That is the main question. What a race though. I absolutely love the James, the dynamic weather here. But this is pretty much a perfect example as well. You know, a wet start, starting to dry up over here. All of a sudden the rain starts to stop and the drying line starts to appear. And again, you need to be right on that drying line. If you go off, you will understeer so much and it can cost you so much time. And George is creating a 1.6 second gap to Partington. George is looking really stable at the moment, while he didn't look that stable before. Bolek Bossy is knocking on the door of Partington! And a big incident here with Partington and Bolek Bossy, as Bolek Bossy slammed it into the wall. And holy shit, they come together again and they are stuck on the racing line. Okay, Hoyer knows what to do there. Be careful, there are cars coming in through Blanchimon. Ragusa goes off track. Very wise to do so. Bolek Bossy has lost his rear wing, decides to keep on going though. But this is such a big shame for this race. Bolek Bossy most likely is going to retire. We have another retirement in the name of Mike Partington, who spun it before Blanchimon and must feel very bad at the moment. I want to have a look at that in the replay.
I think I just had a look. Partington just lost the rear end and then
No. Partington was in 7th gear, then went to neutral, then went to first. Holy cow! What is that all about? Partington was in 7th, switched to neutral, went into first gear. Obviously, you know, he goes 300 something through there. First gear will not work over there. Lost the rear as an obvious result of that. And Jam being so unfortunate that he collected there.
Yeah, you are right. Sorry, Jeroen.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. He did lose the rear end. It was the consequence of what is it? How can you call it?
I've just been disconnected from the server, so I'll have to rejoin back. But just talking about Partington, I think Partington runs with the G27. I may be completely wrong, and then he may have accidentally flicked. I may have pressed the pit lane button, maybe, I don't know, and then flicked his stick and went straight into neutral, clicked first, and then just went straight off, and that's how that happened. I'm unsure whether that's the reason why, but maybe that's how it happened.
Yeah, we're getting reports now from Parisis that Michael Francesconi is the first driver to go on the dry tires. I mean, how about that in these conditions? Not even going to inters, but straight away to the dry tire. I'm rejoining the server as well, James. I had a disconnect as well. But Francesconi then on the dry tire. And what is he going to do in terms of lap time? And can he keep it on track? Luckily I'm back in the server, so we should be able to pick up some better commentary. At least we know what's going on right now. But holy cow, dry tires here. For Michael Francesconi, it are the soft tires. What did he do in the middle sector? He did a 1:53.8. Not bad. That is almost identical to the wet tire. The thing is, if Francesconi finds a wet patch or goes 1 centimeter off the racing line, he is gone.
Indeed, it's very risky.
It is risky.
We'll see how it goes. It may work out. We never know. It's, as we said, it's completely new, so It's our guess is better than anyone else's, so pretty much second guessing everything at the moment. But we'll see how it goes, how this race pans out. And as I said, I'm sure the World Championship drivers will be watching with anticipation to see what sorts of tyres are the best, what sort of lap times, and when it's best to switch on to different compound tyres. So, but yeah, it's a real shame for Bolobas in Portugal having a really strong race, and I don't know, it's just a shame, it really is. But Jurgis is on a great chance to take another victory in FSR, and it'll be a fantastic effort from it. And I do have yellow flags in the first sector.
Do we?
Ah, it is Bolobas is crashed again.
Yeah. Heavy suspension damage. Yeah, he was pointing the wheel to the left down the straight. I mean, even knocked over the DRS sign. You're a danger right now for everyone else, and so decides to stop, and that's the right choice. Holy shit! But I feel very sad for Jan. I mean, being collected in that incident, it's a shame for us as well, because we had here such a nice strategic battle as well. Nonetheless, it is the way it is. We have to keep on going. Georges leads, and there is that DRS sign on down the start-finish straight. Everyone luckily avoids it, and it's luckily not on the trying line. But the DRS sign is on that. I think it's Camel straight. Might be Hanger straight, but I think it's Camel. Ooh, Georges going wide into the hairpin. He has been doing so all race pretty much. So be careful with that. Obviously, on the outside is the wet line. What are the guys doing on dry tires? There are more people going to the dry tires. George Satsipantelis just went for soft. And Riera is on the medium. Francesconi does a 157.2. That is 1/10 of the leader space. So it doesn't look like exactly it is time for the dry tire. But the time where the dry tire is going to be quicker than the wet or even inters is rather sooner than late. It may even be already next lap, because Francesconi is only a 1/10 of Georgius. And does Georgius pit this lap? It doesn't look like it. No pit light for him. There is a pit light though for Michal Antohovsky. Kuba, I need your help. Is it Michal or Mihal? Is it, or do you really say like Paschalis? You know, you also say the H like that. Is it Michal or Mihal? No idea.
Speaking of Paschalis, that was so bad. Anyway, besides the point, Jurgis just went deep into the start of bus stop chicane. Yeah. Oh, and he's struggling again. So Jurgis seemingly struggling to get the car slowed down. Is that? I think that's his tyres seemingly struggling. If he can, I think Jurgis is calling it right. If he can go on to the dry tyres, because that dry line is starting to form quite a large line, but obviously it's quite dangerous if you go off that line, and then you've pretty much got no traction and start driving on ice. But Jurgis doing alright at the moment. He is 6.5 seconds ahead of Mihal, if that's how you pronounce it. I think that's something that we need to...
we'll be fine, we'll be fine. Someone who did fit the dry tire is Eros Mashuli. So Mashuli is one of those top guys who starts to fit the dry tire. He's currently behind a backmarker, I think, in the name of Satsipantelis, I think, who just went off the track, so that is easy for Eros Mashuli. And I'm going to have a look at the timing board.
Oh,
the live timing.
Oh, flipping out. I just saw in the corner of my eye, Jurgis has just gone off.
And lost the rear wing. Race over.
Did you already call that? Or...
That is... No. Of course not. That is...
Oh, Jurgis.
Off the line, eh? Off the line.
Yeah.
And kaboom. You're gone. Off the line and you're gone. And Jurgis is the first victim. Finds out. Holy, we have, and so the lead switches to this Polish guy. I mean, no disrespect, but that's how you call him, James. Yeah. This Polish guy is currently leading Michal Antohovsky. He must be absolutely, well, going crazy at the moment, being the leader of this race. Despite all the drama, he keeps it clean and goes into the pit lane right now. What has Mashuli been doing though? 54.6. He has been a second slower than Michal, so is it time for the right tire? You can again argue against it. Because Mashuli wasn't all that quick. Not as quick as Michal was on that full wet tire. Ragusa takes the lead for the moment. He's obviously on the full wet tire. He's gonna still have to pit. I absolutely love this dynamic weather. Hoyer and Antohovsky went in the pit lane. And here comes Mashuli. 4th place into turn 1. Make sure you stay on the racing line. And he rejoins behind Hoyer. Now, I would like to go on board with Mashuli, if that's possible, Jim. And check what kind of approach he is taking regarding the drying line, how much aggression he is taking, stuff like that. He has got Mitchie Hoyer in front of him. We're looking at the back of that ever-running racing car. Let's see. I don't hope it for Mashuli, but I hope he's going off the racing line somewhere during this lap, like only for a centimeter or so. And then maybe picks up some understeer, because it would be perfect example. Well, it has been already perfectly demonstrated by Georges, I guess, so we don't need any more demonstrations, just keep it clean. In the meantime, Georges was another retirement, and we only have 12 drivers left, so after that very clean start, a lot of retirements throughout this race, and it is a very long race, to be honest, with the wet weather. 24 out of 35 laps at the moment. And most people on the dry tire, except for Ragusa, Heesterbeek, Fastini, and that's it. Everyone on the soft except for Riera, who went with medium. Mashuli looking good throughout this lap, still looking on board with him. He knows it though, you can see that he is not going 100%, and you cannot go 100% really. Because it is so easy to run that centimeter off the racing line. And as I said, you're gone when you do that. That's what I mean. A lift before Blanchimont. Just being really careful, but make sure you are precise. And make sure you stay on that racing line. So another lap completed. Giuseppe Ragusa stays out. What a legend. Is it good that he stays out? I think yes. Why? Because the people behind him, they are probably going towards the end actually. They will have more tires though towards the end.
Well, Maschili did a 156.8 last lap, compared to Ragusa 157.4, so obviously losing a second. So if he carries on these wet tyres, pretty much Michał and Hoyer and possibly even Eros are going to overtake him.
Now keep an eye out on the live timing. In fact, Heesterbeek set the purple first sector on the wet tire, so it shows that the track is getting drier, and it's also in the favor of the wet tire itself. What if it started to rain right now? Well, it's not going to rain, I think. It does look pretty bright. It is quite dry in Spa itself as well, talking real time. There are a few showers expected after the race, but I don't see it happening anymore within the race itself. But who knows, in Spa. Ragusa nonetheless has his pit light on, so maybe he heard you, James. And it is the right call, I think, because he just lost 2 seconds in the space of 1 sector alone. That was the middle sector to Michał Antohovsky. Ragusa comes into the pit lane. You can see just how tight the pit entry is, also on this completely wet surface, because this is still just 100% wet. Well, close to 100%, I would say. And Michał Antohovsky takes the lead of this race. Well, Ragusa goes for the dry tire, sorry, not the wet tire, of course. Now watch how slippery it is here in this pit lane. See, it just gets oversteer while accelerating in the pit lane itself. Then starts to pick up understeer over here. Then decides to go slowly on the power, which is the best thing. Then you reach the dry line and flat out. It's just amazing how much grip there is on the dry line compared to the offline racing line. And that obviously makes sense. Mitchie Hoyer in the meantime went purple, 1 second quicker than Michał Antohovsky. Gap between them, 3.5 seconds. And about 10 more laps to go in this race, which has been a fascinating race, to be honest. I just feel really sad again for for both Partington and Gem, because we're still a bit unsure about what happened to Partington. But I don't know how you can suddenly get it into neutral. I don't know. I'm really flabbergasted. And let's see what Ragusa is going to do as well. Obviously in 4th place, currently 12 seconds behind the leader, but on very fresh tires. Are the leaders going to pit again? It's a tough one. I doubt they will, because they will probably feel like it's not worth it. But the tires will be probably quite worn towards the end. Despite that, or having said that, I should say, they are not wearing as quickly as on a full dry track, I would say. They are not pushing as much, there's not as much friction on the tires. These guys are still keeping it, well, not as easy as 5 laps ago, because that drying line is obviously going to become wider and wider, but they're definitely, I would say, not pushing to the absolute limit as well, because you simply cannot. And the curbs also must be quite wet still. They can be quite a tricky factor as well for the drivers. 154.3 last lap from Mitchell, 153.2 from Michal. So again, or Michal, I still don't know. Kuba, I need some help. Michal or Michal, I don't know. So Michal again, a second quicker that lap, responding to Hoyer's pace. And Mashuli was 4/10 slower than Antohovsky. What a race this has been though. And with Antohovsky, surely his first race in FSR leading. And looking really good as well. Look at his point of view from on board, coming into P1 over here, nicely swinging it in, even dipping a tire into the grass. That's okay, you want to be to the inside as much as possible in order to have a good exit. But on the drying line, it's just, it just feels like dry, bit of oversteer moment there on the corner entry. And he goes off, this is what I mean, understeering off the track. That was the perfect example, and into the gravel, and easily losing a couple of tenths over there, of course. It could have been definitely worse, but that is what I mean. A bit of the racing line, picking up the wet track surface outside of the racing line, and immediately you understeer off the track. Hard stopping moment from Michal, and lost a second to Mitch Hoyer, so could have been worse for Michal. Definitely a good recovery. Could have ended up a lot worse, as I said. 3.5 seconds the gap between them. Ragusa a second off Michal himself as well, so Ragusa made a mistake in that middle sector as well. 153.9 from Michal, 152.4 and the purple, so fast lap of the race, from Mitchie Hoyer. Gap 3.3 seconds. And a few more laps to go. It is a crazy race. Starting off absolutely wet towards the beginning and even the qualifying, of course, for today. And we are going to end it most likely in dry conditions. But the sky is perfectly blue. The track, however, is half dry, half wet, pretty much. Maybe even more wet than dry, to be honest. It most likely is. Michal responding again, a tenth quicker in the first sector compared to Mitch Hoyer. Yeah, Michal does look really good, to be honest. Nice car control, stable driving.
Yep, he does look really confident, even with the wet track. Side by side with the dry line, yellow flags. Oh, Erasmus Skeely's gone off. He's gone off on Puon. It seems to be the corner that's catching quite a lot of people out, and now Ragusa has managed to jump up into third place and take that podium spot off Erasmus Skeely. It's a shame for Maskeely because he was having some good pace.
Yeah.
And now
definitely.
he's down into
and
fourth place.
Position.
Indeed.
I lost the rear end on corner entry, taking too much speed into the corner itself. Big shame for Mashuli, as you have said, and Ragusa not really having the pace, to be honest, despite being on the freshest tires. He's in fact about 4 seconds slower than Mitchie Hoyer was last lap. So Ragusa not having the best pace. It's really about the top two at the moment, and the gap between them is still 3.3 And last lap there was 200 or even 300 of a second between them, so they are really consistent as well. Back marker there, which was Faustini getting nicely out of the way for our leader. And there's no more spray as well, obviously, on the dry line. So the dry line is really dry, no shit. But outside of the drying line, it is still so wet. We saw it with Antohovsky. Hoyer 3/10 quick in the first sector. Now hits the back of that back marker. Needs to get out of the way as soon as possible. What tires is he? He's on full wet still. Get out of the way, please. Reflect. He stays in the way of Hoyer. Hoyer will be not happy with this one. I can tell you that. He's on wet tires. Hoyer on dry, which is definitely faster. And Hoyer, yeah, now he goes out of the way. What I wanted to say as well, Hoyer doesn't really want to go off the racing line in order to overtake him. That will be interesting as well. If these guys are going to get to each other, so Antohovsky and Hoyer. If Hoyer catches up to Antohovsky, which seems a bit unlikely because he just lost 2 seconds in the middle sector because of a back marker. It is still, you know, how are you going to overtake? That drying line is obviously going to become wider and wider, and towards the end of the race it will be wider, but still, going off the racing line, I've said it so many times, it's still slippery, so how are you going to overtake? Even if I was a defending driver at the moment, I would not even defend for a corner. I would just stay on the racing line the whole time, not even go to the inside, for example. But that seems pretty obvious. You always want to be on the drying line. Good lap from Antohovsky again, 52.7. Hoyer did a 54.0, no surprises there because he lost 2 seconds in that middle sector. He was again 2/10 quicker in the final sector. As Victor Ivanov left the server, he was already a retirement, at the end of lap 6. And Almeida is keeping up with Hoyer. That's quite interesting. Hoyer doesn't need to look in his mirrors though. Hoyer needs to look in front of him. 4.3 seconds. Again 4/10 in the first sector. Hoyer has got good pace here. But surely after that spin, it's not quick at the moment. Most likely those tires got damaged a bit as well. And Ragusa is still doing 53.5, so he's improving, but not on the leader's pace, despite the fresher tires. So not a lot of drivers racing anymore. 11 drivers in this race. George Chatsipantelis is still in 11th place. 1 lap down on the leader. Faustini 1 lap down, and Thiago Almeida as well 1 lap down on the leader. And wow, this is fantastic. Michał Antohovsky responded with a purple middle sector. 2/10 quicker again than Hoyer. And this guy is having a great race at the moment. I really my hat off to Antohovsky at the moment.
Indeed, and he's just on a little bit of oversteer outside, on the exit of bus stop. Keep on forgetting that anyway, besides the point. But I mean, it has been a really solid performance and a debut, winning. Well, he hasn't won yet, but he's on the road to taking his first victory in FSR in his debut race. I mean, that'd be a fantastic achievement for him, and definitely showing that he can do well in this dynamic weather. As well as Hoyer, he's always up there on the podium. He's always drove consistently and has done a solid job. So, has a little bit of oversteer, but manages to keep the car in check. But it's been a solid race for both Antohovsky and Hoyer and Antohovsky.
Antohovsky. I think I actually shouldn't judge because I have no idea myself. I'm just going off the tips Kuba gave me. Kuba just gave me another tip. It is Michał, I think, and not Michał. Anyway, we all know, or you guys hopefully know what we mean. We also hope that you have been enjoying this race so far. And again, a big thank you to Jim Parisis for being the guy who broadcasts this, despite our usual suspect not being around. Again, Hoyer is quick, but Antohovsky is quicker in the second sector, indicating he has got a bit more downforce than Hoyer on that car. Hoyer the whole time quicker in sectors 1 and 3. We'll see how much Hoyer is going to gain, if he's going to gain at all, in that third sector here. Again, usually Hoyer is really quick in the final sector compared to Michal. Let's see, 52.6 from Antohovsky and a 52.2 from Hoyer. 4/10 quicker that lap, and again 3/10 quicker in the final sector was Hoyer. 3.8 seconds between them. I don't see Hoyer closing it down in time. He's quicker at the moment, but needs to be consistent as well. And he's running out of laps. He can see that car on the horizon. He's going to get only closer and closer to him. But how close? That's the question. 3.8 was before. 3.2 right now. Holy shit. Purple sector from Hoyer. 6/10 quicker than Antohovsky in that first sector alone. And now he needs to try somehow, you know, despite Antohovsky having the upper hand through the second sector all the time. He needs to somehow get the momentum on his side as well through the second sector. And if he has that, he has got enough pace to close him up towards the end of the race. But can he then also overtake him? That's another question. And can he also catch up to him? It's easier said than done, that's for sure.
Indeed. To be honest, I think if Anchosky, anyway, besides how you pronounce the
Polish
name,
guy.
yeah. Anyway, but I think if he doesn't make a mistake, then this is his race.
Yeah. It's just, Hoyer has had a good middle sector, but again, Antohovsky did a purple, you know, the 49.4. It's only half of a tenth quicker than Hoyer, but it is enough for Antohovsky, as you have said as well, to most likely take the victory. And he will be absolutely happy with that, and I feel very happy for him as well. He's been keeping himself out of troubles for most of the race. Hoyer seems to be quick though, and not giving up. That's obviously what we like to see. So 29.9 from Antohovsky, 29.5 from Hoyer, purple, fastest lap of the race, 9/10 quicker than Antohovsky in the end over the course of that lap. 4/10 of that 1 second, or 9/10 I should say, he gained in the final sector again. So Hoyer is really strong in that final sector, and the first one as well. Last time around he gained 6/10 in his first sector. Let's see what he does right now. 2.8 is the gap. Antohovsky coming across that detection point for the first sector now. And he did a 32.5, which is a personal best. But Hoyer did a 32.0 yet again. Half a second quicker in that first sector. You can see him coming closer, but he's running out of laps. Antohovsky should have this. And James, will the DRS be enabled right now as well? It should be, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
Because obviously, I think rFactor 2 works on it how if you're on the dry tire, you get DRS. I think that's
Okay.
how it works.
Okay, interesting. So in that case, Hoyer needs to find himself within that 1 second mark. He will pick up the slipstream as well. And he has got the higher straight line speed. But again, Antohovsky seems to be pulling away. You can see it even visually in his second sector. So Antohovsky should have it in his hands. He's got one hand on the trophy already. And does again go purple. And Hoyer snaps. Hoyer 5/10 slower that time through the second sector. Hoyer really trying, and that is great to see, of course. But it does look like the win will be for Antohovsky as he approaches the final lap of this race. Let's see whether he can keep it clean. That's all where it's about right now. Where it's all about right now, I should say, of course. 151.9 for Antohovsky, 151.4 for Hoyer, so still gaining about half a second, but it's not going to be enough, I'm afraid. There's another back marker in front of Antohovsky, who is Riera. What is Riera doing? Riera is on the medium tire, of course, still. He was one of the first ones actually to go on the dry tire, and Valker Jarvi has a problem. Valker Jarvi is driving without a rear wing and without a front wing. And that was at the exit of turn 11. Similar to George's. Very similar to Georgia's. Timo Valkyrjärvi keeps on going though for the moment. And Hovsky, there's no more debris on track over there. Okay, good. I thought that maybe so. And Hoyer went off, did he? I think Hoyer had a moment in turn 11. So Hoyer definitely snapped over there. Did he? Yes, Hoyer went quite deep. Yep. So it's just a couple of corners to go here for Michał Antohovsky. I'm very sure this is his first race, right, James? You don't seem to remember this.
No, I've never heard of it.
No, that's what I mean.
I have no idea where Origin 5 this drivers. Oh my god! Like seriously, it's just amazing how quick these guys are.
Yep, absolutely. His first race, and straight away he's going to win it in style. You think what would have happened if Jan Bolobelsi was here, if Georges was here, if Partington was here, but that is all out of the picture because Antohovsky has been the one who kept it clean and who takes the win, and a very deserved win. Antohovsky crosses the line, his first ever win and his first ever race in FSR, and he takes home the win. Hoyer is second in the end, 4.7 seconds behind Michał. And what a crazy race. We're waiting for Ragusa here, who had the freshest tires towards the end but couldn't make any kind of impact. In fact, he lost a lot of time in that final stint despite being on the freshest tires. But he comes home to take home the final podium paying spot. And it's waiting now for Eros Masciuli, 14 seconds behind that. What a crazy race. Masciuli just crossed the line as well. Francesconi's teammate will be behind him. Taking home 5th place. Hastepay having had a very quiet race, but picks up a few points. 6th place for him. Riera is driving without a front wing. How is that possible? Weird. Riera driving without a front wing. He is yet to be classified though. And Valkyrjärvi in the end decided to retire, I think. He did not get classified, did he? I don't think he did. What a wow, extraordinary race. I think that's the best way to put it. And in the end also with a deserved winner. Because, yes, of course, Jan Bolobelsi would have deserved it. Partington maybe as well, Georgius. You can all argue against that. And I would maybe even agree with you. But Antohovsky has been the one who has been really quick towards the end here as well. May have had a bit of troubles towards on the first couple of laps. Maybe taking it really careful and stuff. But I would say a deserved win for Michał Antohovsky in his first FSR race. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, indeed. I think you also have to give credit for Hoyer as well. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely dynamic weather is one that we definitely need to use for future races, and indeed we will, in fact. But it's definitely been a lot more interesting rather than just having a complete dry race throughout the whole entire race, obviously. But you know, what it's shown is it's shown whether drivers that are normally solid in the dry, whether they've got the driving skills to do well in the wet. I think Hoyer's definitely shown that. We haven't seen, and Michał, whatever his name is, and Ragusa as well. So you know, it's good stuff from them. So it's good how they've adapted from wet to dry and dry to wet. You know, it's something that's definitely interesting, and it adds a different element to our factor on the broadcast.
So after 35 laps, after 1 hour and 10 minutes of driving, we have finished this astonishing race, which started with pouring rain, and in the end finishes in a dry fashion. A fantastic race, as you said as well. The dynamic weather definitely having a big role in that, and I would say this was pretty successful. There are some improvements, as you have pointed out during the stream itself as well. But I nonetheless really enjoyed it, and I think it is good enough, and so I really welcome it to FSR. I think it's a nice addition.
Yeah, I do as well. But do you know what's amazing? What I found is that we've had, at least hang on, we've had 11 finishes. Now, I was expecting at the start, I'm going to be honest, I thought there was probably going to be a little bit of an incident, but in fairness to them, they managed to keep it clean and did did a solid job. And it's one thing that you, as a driver, you've got to adapt to. Pro drivers not so much for the moment, anyway. But yeah, I think it's good. Do you know what? I really enjoyed it, and all the people, on the comment section on YouTube, it's quite amusing with a debate about iRacing, so of course I've had to all that. But
Oh no.
honestly, it's been a good race, and I just want to say again thanks to Jim Parisis for broadcasting, because ultimately if Jim hadn't donated his time, then obviously we wouldn't have had a broadcast and we wouldn't have been able to see the dynamic weather in play in the spot. So, it's definitely been very interesting and a good race.
Yeah, I think we should round it up over here, though. I mean, it was a fantastic race, extraordinary race, as I said before. We have all seen it, so there is not a lot of explaining to do anymore. James, I would like to thank you for being here, taking your time to commentate. It has been a pleasure sitting alongside you again. But obviously, a big props as well. We've been mentioning him, Jim Parisis, for stepping in as the broadcaster here. Maybe it wasn't as viewers expected, because I think it had a different overlay as well. I actually like this overlay quite a bit. But
Edward Malocqui's overlay.
yep, yeah, I think so as well. But nonetheless, Jim has been here to help us out and making the broadcast possible for you guys. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have had a broadcast at all. And obviously, after a race like that, it is definitely worth having a broadcast. So once again, a big thanks to Jim Parisis. And I guess we should round it up here, James.
Yeah, indeed. So, well, thank you everyone for watching. I mean, it's been, as I said, it's been a good race. It's been exciting, and I can't wait to watch the World Championship. Obviously, we have Pro tomorrow at 13:30 GMT, with the World Championship taking place at 16:30 GMT. Now, dynamic weather will be very interesting with FSR's top drivers and Jim Parisis, who did the broadcast for today. He will be racing, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim. But yeah, best of luck to him, and best of luck to everyone racing tomorrow. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you for round 11 at Singapore. Take care, bye bye.